All I want for Christmas is to bring this meeting to session. Sorry about the loud mixtures of sounds, and sorry about my terrible singing, but don't worry, I'll make it up to you all. Because in today's episode, I will be giving you all some recipes to make yourselves during the winter of 2020. By the way, you all can find the written versions of these recipes on my website, portiaaubrey.wordpress.com. That's porchaaubrey.wordpress.com. So, let's get right into it. First up, my homemade hot chocolate recipe. You will need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 cup of any kind of sugar. When I first started making this recipe, I used golden sugar, but you can use white or literally any kind of sugar. 2.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, either 1.5 cups of milk or the size of your mug. I know that all mugs are different sizes, so I googled what the average mug size is, and it said 350 milliliters, so I converted that to cups, and yeah. 1 tablespoon of water, and some optional stuff like marshmallows, whipped cream, cookies, etc. By the way, all of these ingredients can be adjusted depending on what you'd like. It's not like it'll become poison if you change it up a bit. For instance, if it's too sweet, then you can add more cocoa powder or cinnamon. If it's too strong or chocolatey, then you can add more sugar to it. Also, when I make this stuff for myself, I never measure anything. I just throw everything into the pot and adjust it to my taste. So all these measurements are assumed to what would make sense. So really, I don't know if that's enough cocoa powder or not. I'm just assuming that's a normal amount. Now, let's get into the process. Add the water and milk to a small pot and put over medium heat. On my stove, I set the dial to 6 and it goes up to 12. Add the vanilla, cinnamon, cocoa powder to the pot and stir until all the clumps are gone. Add in the sugar and stir. Feel free to taste the hot chocolate and adjust the ingredients to your taste. Wait until partial boil, stirring frequently. Since you have milk over heat, it's best to not leave it alone. When it's at a desirable temperature, remove the pot from the heat, pour the hot chocolate into your mug. You can also strain it too if you want to. I don't though. Add in your optional toppings and enjoy. Next up is bananas and molten peanut butter. You will need 2 large bananas, 5 tablespoons or so of peanut butter, any kind is fine, creamy or chunky, doesn't matter. And you can also change the ingredients in this recipe. For instance, if you don't like bananas, then you can replace it with grapes or even apples. And instead of peanut butter, you can even use Nutella. Now, I just zoomed in. Give me a second. Alright, good enough. Now the process. Slice the bananas in half and then cut those into smaller sections. Let's say cut each half into like 10 or 12. Place those bananas into the freezer for around 5 hours or until completely frozen. Once the bananas are frozen, place your peanut butter into a small dipping container and microwave for 1 minute. Stir the peanut butter. Enjoy. You can dip the bananas into the peanut butter or pour the peanut butter over the bananas. What I do is dip the bananas into peanut butter, and once I start to run low on peanut butter, then I pour it over the rest of the bananas. Next is my homemade protein balls recipe. By the way, I also don't measure anything in this recipe either, so these measurements are completely guessed by me. So if the consistency doesn't seem about right, then feel free to add in a little bit more of another ingredient. What you'll need will be 1.5 scoops of protein powder. It could be any kind, but I use vanilla. 1/2 cup of peanut butter, any kind. 1.5 cups of instant oats, 2 tablespoons of honey, and half a tablespoon of milk. This is for emergencies if the mixture is too dry. The process for this recipe is: add your oats, peanut butter, protein powder, and honey to a large bowl, and mix until thoroughly combined. Make sure to also check the bottom of the bowl because there may be some oats hiding down there. If the mixture is a little dry, then you can either add in some milk, peanut butter, or honey. If the mixture is too wet and sticky, then you can add in some more oats or protein powder. Once all the ingredients are mixed well, use your hands and thoroughly combine everything. This is to make sure that there's nothing hidden anywhere. Grab about 2 tablespoons of the mixture and roll into balls. You should get about 12 to 15 balls from this recipe, depending on how big you make them. Also, I don't measure out how big I make the balls either. I just grab a chunk and roll it. They should be about the size so you can eat them in around 2 to 3 bites. Freeze until completely frozen or overnight. If they're too frozen when you take them out, then either wait for them to thaw a little or microwave them for 1 minute. Enjoy! They taste kind of like ice cream the first time I made them, by the way. Now for the last recipe. A recipe that's been all over TikTok and Instagram for a little while now. Hot cocoa bombs. You'll need 1 cup of hot chocolate chips. You'll need 1 cup of chocolate chips. This can be of any kind. Hot chocolate mix. You'll put around 1.5 tablespoons per bomb. Milk, either the amount of your mug or half a cup, 1.5 cup, and the optional marshmallows. I've also seen some people use sprinkles, so just use whatever you like. Now for the process. Melt your chocolate chips until smooth, either on the stove or in the microwave. Be sure to stir frequently. Prepare your orb molds or whatever kind of molds you're using. Pour your melted chocolate into the molds and make sure to get the edges. Pour the excess melted chocolate back into the container. Freeze your molds until frozen or for 1 to 2 hours. If your chocolate began to harden, then melt it again. Take your molds out of the freezer and pour in a second layer of chocolate. Remember to pour out the excess chocolate. Place your mold back in the freezer until frozen or for 1 to 2 hours. Remove the molds from the freezer and take the chocolate orbs out of the molds. Prepare a hot plate, either by microwaving the plate or pouring hot water on it and wiping off the water. You could also just use a pan on your stove. Even out half of your molds by using the hot plate. Pour 1.5 tablespoons of the hot chocolate mix into half of the molds. Place a few marshmallows into the into the filled half of your molds. This is optional. Melt a little bit of the other half of your orbs and place them over the filled orbs. Feel free to use the excess melted chocolate as a glue to stick them together. Freeze for 30 minutes to 1 hour, or until cold. You could also just keep them in your fridge. If they're frozen, then they won't melt instantly when you put them in your hot milk. Heat up your milk on the stove over a medium heat. Be sure to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't boil over. Place your bomb into your mug and pour the hot milk over your bomb. Stir in the mixture once the bomb melts. Enjoy! There you all go. There's 4 recipes you can make yourselves this winter. I was aiming for 5 recipes on my blog post, but I couldn't think of anything else that's original and my own recipe. Although I do have a spicy chicken recipe, but I still don't measure anything, and that sounds even more difficult for me to describe out. I hope you all like your new snacks. My Instagram is at dark_night_wolves. Let's bring this meeting to an end.